everybody. Welcome to Wild Wing Cafe and the Allen Major Show this week. Big week for the 49ers as they take on Radford on Wednesday, and they've got the Time Warner Cable Arena showdown with Florida State on Saturday afternoon. We're here for the next hour here at Wild Wing Cafe out by the university, Mallard Creek Church Road. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. We'd love to hear from you tonight, 704-332-0173. Alongside Landy Ford from ESPN 730. And the Niner coach, Allen Major, I am Matt Swearat. Thanks for joining us tonight. And, Coach, first of all, congratulations on the win yesterday against Kennesaw State. And it is a big week, but we'll kind of backtrack before we start talking about what's coming up this week as to what happened on the last road trip, going 1-1, the Miami game on Friday and Kennesaw State yesterday. And we kind of knew coming into the game yesterday that Kennesaw State was going to, give us what we expected to see, which was a hard-fought game. And I said after the game, tip your cap to the Owls because they're playing without Markeith Cummings, their leading scorer.
Yes.
And they played really well.
Yeah, Lewis is doing a terrific job. You know, I got to see him a little bit after the game, and we just talked for a little bit. Those games, those trips, really, I have all newfound respect for NBA guys now because those guys are going at it back-to-back some nights. And so, to go 2 and 3 days, and actually it was our 5th game in 16 days, if you really want to go back to East Carolina.
Yeah.
So it becomes mental. It's an amazing deal how mental it becomes. And, they came out guns blazing, and I think our biggest thing was I was glad to see us respond mentally, especially in the second half. The first half, they came out, and their confidence, stung us a little bit, to be quite honest. But at least we came back, and I think we had held them to 19 points in the second half, which I was very happy with. And so that allowed us to get out and get in the transition, get some easy baskets, and be a little bit more getting back to who we are.
You mentioned before the game getting back to who we are, the identity, defense first, trying to get the ball inside. Going to Miami on Friday night to play a really good Hurricanes team that really could be a Sweet 16 team, if not deeper, in the NCAA tournament this year. A couple of NBA players in that team.
Yeah.
We knew they were talented. We come in 9-0, and it was a big road test. And, you learned a lot from that game because these guys realized that you got to bring it every day.
Right.
And nothing's going to be handed to you.
Exactly.
And again, it doesn't matter who you're playing, but especially against a team like Miami on the road, you really got to bring it for 40 minutes.
You really do. And, one of the best things about college basketball is coaches that have a relationship with each other will sometimes talk to each other after they play each other and, either pick each other's brain. What'd you think of our team? What'd you think of our team? And Coach Vandross had a friend of theirs, a friend of his on their coaching staff, one of their assistant coaches, and one of the first things he said was, we really got our guys jacked up about you guys being undefeated. And usually that's the other way around. If let's say if Miami were undefeated, it would be us jacking our guys up for that reason. But that was one of the big selling points of their team. So I think it was good for our guys to see that, as you get into a level of success and that level of success is uncharted waters. For a lot of our guys, it was at this level, not having a clue. For a sophomore, junior-laden team, it's tough on you mentally. So when you got some young guys, they haven't been there. So for them to kind of realize, wow, you start to take everybody's best shot as you keep moving forward. That's one of the biggest lessons I think we drew from that.
One of the things you don't like any defeat, but if you are going to have some, you want to have them earlier in the season so they don't hurt you as much when you go down the stretch. And also, as young as you are, for those guys to experience some of that with the success that they've been having,
right.
it kind of brings your feet back down to reality.
It does, and it taps you on the shoulder ever so gently to let you know, wow, this is tough. It's not quite as easy as maybe they think. So it was good for them. And again, I'll say it again, that team – I'm very curious to see how that ACC plays out because I have them in the top 3 or, at the worst, I think top 4 in that conference.
Looking at the A-10 and you compare some teams in this league to Miami, there's going to be there's going to be games very similar to the game that we played down in Coral Gables coming up. You look what Butler did to Indiana in Indianapolis this weekend, and as good as VCU is, there's going to be a lot of games that are going to be as physical, maybe not as big across the board in the post, but a lot of games very similar.
Yeah, and I'll take that Davidson game too as a snapshot as well, and that'll be very similar. Maybe a little bit more size-wise, depending on who you play on certain nights. But the physicality part, I think, will be a common thread throughout this conference just because of the depth of the A-10, no doubt.
Going into that game, too, we didn't talk about it before the game, but Perrier Henry was a little under the weather and kind of like a head cold. And you could tell it wasn't a typical Perrier kind of night. And when, as physical as was, as up and down as the pace was, if you don't have yourself going 100%, it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, he at one point shoot around, he was stretched out across our bench, kind of laying there, and said he was feeling lightheaded. And I think the mental part of it too is coming off of finals week, and again, not to make any excuses at all for the way we played, but I think guys are understanding, how difficult it is to be completely buried with school and then have to turn the page and go play like that against an opponent like that. So, but that's, we talk about turning adversity for our favor, and what you do is if you want to be a team that aspires to be really good, you bounce back. And I think had we gone and won at Miami, Sunday was going to be a tough game. Just because
the opposite reason.
You're going to come back. Exactly right. So either way, win or loss, I think Sunday was going to be a battle just because of the circumstances that Kennesaw was in. Mm-hmm. It was literally a wounded bear situation, their best player, being out.
I was going to mention that you don't look for excuses, but it's got to be tough closing out exam week and then the travel and then playing a team like Miami, because Miami was an impressive team last year when we played.
They were. And, we didn't have Braz, from Monday through Wednesday of last week either. He had come down with strep throat, and he missed 3 days of practice. So, we have, some of your key guys that don't really have that rhythm of being in practice day in and day out because of that. It's a challenge, but, at the same time, I think the shell shock of that game, we didn't quite recover. We did make that run in the second half, and Miami responded like a good team does. And they went back and gave us another run and made it difficult for us to recover.
Our phone number is 704-332-0173. We're here at the Wild Wing Cafe out on Mallet Creek Church Road. Coach, being able to play on Sunday, just the really fast turnaround, was that better considering the fact that it was, a game that got out of hand in the second half and you're able to come right back out there and kind of erase that from your memory?
Yeah. I think, what would have been tough is to have a game like that and then have a finals week of no games and then come back a following week later and then try to play with that, just festering and in the back of your mind for 5-6 days of both finals week and practice. So that quick turnaround was good. I mean, scheduling-wise, it just so happened to work out that way. And it was tough to squeeze that Kennesaw game in, and we tried to do it in January because sometimes, you'll try to take that last non-conference game if you can't get it in December and slide it into maybe the middle of a bye week during your conference week if you can. And that just wasn't able to work out because of Kennesaw's date. So it actually ended up being a blessing in disguise that it worked out that way because mentally you have to turn the page right away.
What was great about yesterday, not only do you get a chance to get the guys that are from Georgia and a lot around the Atlanta area a chance to get back towards their home and play in front of family and friends, but also it's an opportunity for the fans to make a trip. And I noticed before the game there were a lot of Niner green shirts in the stands, some 49er shirts, the football shirts that we saw in the stands. It was great to come out there, coming out of the tunnel there and have all that green there. Yeah,
the last time we were down there like that was Georgia Tech in that area a couple of years ago, and that crowd was phenomenal. I think you remember.
Yeah.
Double overtime game. I mean, just a knockdown, drag-out deal, but the fans were amazing. So I think that'll give you a little taste of, as you move into Conference USA, of what it will be like, because you're just going to have more situations like that, 3 or 4 more schools within that 3 or 4 hour radius where people are going to be able to come and be a part of it. And that's how you get rivalries going, when both fans can go to the other place's gym and give each other a few choice words.
We'll take our first break here on the Alan Major Show. A lot more coming up here tonight from Wild Wing Cafe. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. This is the Alan Major Show from IMG College. Welcome back to the Alan Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe on ESPN 730, presented by IMG College with Niners head coach Alan Major tonight. The Niners have a big week back home to take on Radford on Wednesday night at Halton Arena. We'll tip that at 7:30 against the Highlanders, and then 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday at Time Warner Cable Arena in Uptown Charlotte. We'll take on the Seminoles of Florida State University. It's our second ACC opponent in the last week. And that will take us into the holiday break. A reminder, folks, we will not be here next Monday or the following Monday, so Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. We will not be here, but we'll be back the following Monday and the rest of the year on Monday nights here at Wild Wing Cafe. Phone number 704-332-0173, 704-332-0173. So, Coach, yesterday in the win against Kennesaw State, let's talk about the second half and the defense, especially what you guys did against the three-point shot. They were 1 of 10 in the second half after hitting 5 of 6 in the first half, and of those 5, they did bank 2 in. So yeah. They had a couple good ones there, one from the right side, one from the left side. But a good job in the second half, 1 for 10. You guys got a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
You extended a little bit and got a little more physical with them.
Yeah, we mixed some zone in there as well, just to kind of break the rhythm up, because drive and kick teams, I don't know what this equates to in football. It's probably similar to a team that throws it, kind of a dink and dunk football team. Drive and kick teams have to find a rhythm. And once they get into a rhythm, they can get going, especially if they can really shoot. It's kind of like the team that, if they can dink it here, dunk it there, next thing you know, they've reeled off a 60-yard, 70-yard drive in 3 minutes, So we just tried to break up their rhythm a little bit, and then it proved. I think our length, eventually got to them a little bit as well.
When you look at the box score, I think Perrier had more than 2 assists. I know Chris Brazel had 2 blocks, was only given credit for 1. So some of the numbers I don't think are totally correct. But when you look at the field goal percentage shooting, that was certainly outstanding, shooting 64% for the game. You're at 61 in the first half, 68 in the second half, making 13 of 19 shots in the second half. What were you guys doing in the second half to have that much success?
Victor had some nice drives. They were doubling Braz whenever he caught it, him in particular. And he was able to get it out of the post. And one time he had a dump off to JT. Just their spacing and defensively allowed us to get some seams and get the ball to the paint, where we liked it. And that's our mentality anyway. So Perrier split a ball screen one time and got in there and had a nice runner. So I just thought guys settled down and did a much better job of attacking the paint and getting what we want. So, that percentage is that's golden. I'll take that every night if we can get it.
One of the things you'd like to see, you're always working inside, whether it's Willie Clayton or Darian Clark or Brass or whoever inside, trying to work inside on the paint points. But it's also good to see somebody like a Terrence or E. Victor that tries to get loose, drive the baseline, do some other drives, or even Perrier. I've seen him drive straight down the middle, straight down the lane.
Yeah.
Because usually when that happens, you're either going to get the shot
or
the foul or both.
Exactly. And sometimes you get an offensive rebound because that penetration draws help. And those helpers, for a while aren't able to block somebody out. It's hard to help on penetration and then go back and block somebody out on once a shot goes up. So it allows you sometimes to get a second chance and a tip in as well. But I'm with you 100%. Victor had 2 really good drives where he just got in there and played off 2 feet is what we call it in practice, where he played off balance and or on balance. And then Perry did the same thing. So anytime you can do stuff and you're sound and you can attack the paint, that's going to lead to a high percentage.
Our phone number is 704-332-0173. Coach, when you look at a game like Kennesaw State, and you do have so many young freshmen and sophomores that are playing a lot of minutes right now, even though it's a game that going in you think you're going to win, is it as a teaching aspect, do you get more now that it's over and you did get the win, and that you won the game, that it was a little closer, and come conference time, these guys playing another close game, able to find a way to gut out a win in the second half? Do you learn more from that, or do you learn more from just going out there sometimes and just having a runaway?
Yes.
It's easier for you.
No, I think mentally, when you go back and look at film, and yes, coaches, you've been through this. You always want more. You win by
never enough.
You win by 14. You're saying, all right, we could have won by 20, or whatever it is. So we're going to do that no matter what. But the fact that the game was the way it was, despite how much I want it to be the way it was, the game was the way it was. And Terrence Williams and I were watching film today, and I said, basketball games are like snowflakes. There's no two alike. So every game takes a face of its own. And so the fact that it was tied at halftime, and then you had to find a way to get your defense going and gut it out, take better shots, and then get some separation and not let them come back at the end, and kind of pull away. That's a good learning experience because we'll be in that situation again, like you said, down the line. And clearly against, teams that probably have the ability to make a run at you, towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I'm curious to get your opinion on this. The three-point shot has been part of college basketball now for a very long time, but there's still some folks that would rather see the game not have the three-point shot. You take a matchup like yesterday. That was the great equalizer in the first half. They made 5. It was tied at 33. As a coach, where do you stand on the three-point shot in college basketball?
I think it's good. Will they move it back? I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see if they keep the distance the same. I think it's all in individual philosophies and how the makeup of your team. Some teams you may have guys that should shoot more of them, and that warrants them, shooting a few more. Our team is a little bit more of a 2-point, old-fashioned 3-point play, type of team that just shoots wide open ones when we do. And we're going to continue to improve our percentage. But, to be in the situation we're at right now, I think we're about 45% from the field, shade under 46, which is right where we want to be, field goal percentage. So it's got to roll. I think it can be abused at times because sometimes, the people will settle for it. And, philosophically, I don't want to settle for it. I want to use it when it's there. But it's definitely got to roll in the game.
Yeah, 2 marked improvements I see over last year, and you talked about that. You went into a game tied at halftime. Last year we seemed to struggle to start the second half, whether it was energy or flow or whatever. That seems to be much improved this year. The other thing is getting to the end of the game and being able to put somebody away, not just being content that I'm going to ride out this 6 points and make it happen.
Right.
Kennesaw, you saw the lead extend.
Yeah.
What would you attribute that to? Is it just merely experience with some of these, but you still got a lot of young kids playing?
I think probably the biggest thing is depth. We've been around that. We've talked about it, the three of us. That number has been around 9, some nights 10, depending on how the game goes. And I think when you're able to throw 9 guys out there, I think it just helps you, stay fresh. If there's ever a point where you can really go for that kill shot in terms of maybe getting some separation, you want to try to be as fresh as you can. So I think that's probably been the single biggest thing is the depth. And depth has bred good competition among the roster as well. So it's probably a combination of those two things, but depth is really important for us.
When you go out and you're on the recruiting trail and you're looking to fill pieces, because we have so much of a rotation right now, so much depth, it's got to be a little bit more difficult trying to sell a guy to come in because you're so young right now.
Right.
That you're starting 3 freshmen, 2 sophomores, that this next kid that wants to come in and play right away, there's going to be a learning curve again.
Right.
I'm guessing that with success sometimes makes it a little bit more difficult to keep that going.
Yeah, it does because, that next guy wants to play. I mean, freshman, JUCO guy, whoever he is, he wants to know, all right, how do I fit into the plans? And I think that's the big thing. That's why, we only got 2 available that we'd like to sign for 2013. And we haven't taken anybody yet just for that reason, because when you only have 2 to get, you want to make sure it's the right 2. And that who was the right fit. If you got 5 to give or 6, that's different. You can, you got red shirts, or maybe if you miss on a guy, you got room to make up for it. But, we're taking our time with this class as well.
And we still have Sean Lester sitting out.
Yeah, you got an in-house recruit.
Exactly.
He's learning the ropes as we go. Even though he can't practice, he's learning just, how Charlotte, exists. So that's helping him too.
Coach, we'll take our next break here on the show and come back with more. I think we're going to come back and talk to Mike Thorne. I see Mike is here right now, so we'll talk to Big Mike.
They got wings. He's eating. So.
Brought to us by Ortho Carolina, our player segment with Mike Thorne coming up in a moment. We will take a break. This is the Allen Major Show from IMG College. They swing it to the right side. Shot clock now at 19. Big Mike in the lane. Goes up, kicks it back outside to Henry. He dribble drives and finds Nickerson in the corner. Nickerson drives, misses. Mike Thorne, the rebound, and puts it back up and in. Welcome back to the Allen Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe. There you have our highlight from our next guest, Mike Thorne. Big Mike, 6'10", redshirt freshman from Fayetteville, North Carolina. And, Mike, thanks for taking the time tonight after the the swing down to Miami and Atlanta to come back and join us here tonight. Appreciate it.
No problem, no problem.
How you doing so far?
I'm doing great, just fine.
It's been a good start to the season, 10-1, and you sat out last year as a red shirt. Got to learn the ropes a little bit. What's it been like finally getting back on the floor?
It's been great, and the best thing about it is we've been winning, and the feeling of winning is great and unbelievable.
Coach talks about how hard you work in practice, and he said last year it was like playing 100 games for you because you brought it every single day in practice. What did you learn last year as a freshman here at Charlotte?
Basically, how hard you have to play every day and how much energy you got to bring, to be a successful college basketball player, because it's so different than high school, and it's something that I didn't expect.
You also put a lot of work in with the strength and conditioning department, lifting weights, working out. And we've commented already a couple of times this season, watching you run the floor, that it's a totally different Mike Thorne. You're able to do things this year that physically you weren't able to do last year.
Oh, absolutely. Atch is probably one of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the country. And during the summer, he conditions us and has us in the weight room, and it's just great for everybody. And it's helped me out a lot and helped my body change.
I imagine that freshman year is another one of those things to where you've got to adjust mentally on what's expected on this level, at this level of play, and what you've got to put out and what you've got to accomplish on your own and not just to practice.
You asking like things I had to look out for?
Yeah, well, when you were last year during your time, you figured out things that maybe weren't the same way when you were in high school, things that you had to do different because the competition was so much greater.
You just have to prepare better. You can't come into practice like a daisical and out of it. And if you don't bring it every day, you'll get embarrassed.
And they'll help embarrass you, won't they?
Yeah. Because, in college, everybody was the best player on their high school team, so you're no longer the guy anymore. You got to go hard every day to keep getting better.
Like, where do you feel your game has improved right now?
I'll say my body has developed a lot more. I've gotten better running the court. And I think I'm learning the game a little better now as far as the plays and everything.
We're talking to Mike Thorne, Niner redshirt freshman center. Mike, when you get out there on the floor at this level now, the game is a lot faster. And the guys you just talked about, a little different from being in high school where when you get and you bang into the paint, it's a little bit different here now, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot different. It's a lot more physical, and the pace is so much faster than high school. And, you're playing guys your size and stronger versus in high school. You didn't see that too often, maybe some nights, but not all.
I should have asked you before. I don't have the answer to it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. I know before the end of last season, our strength coach was talking about maybe getting you a little bit of boxing lessons because you wanted to work on your footwork, and we've seen that really improve. Did you do anything like that, or what did you do in the offseason to work on your footwork?
Well, Coach Perrin, who no longer works here, he used to take me about 15, 20 minutes down the road, and I would have my own boxing trainer, and he would work with me, and that really helped my coordination out a lot, and my conditioning and my breathing and everything, and that was really good for me. That's something that I actually enjoyed, the right jab, left jab, and everything. So.
When you're a big man like you've got a lot of body that you've got to control, so it takes some time, especially as young as you are, to develop and get that coordination. I would think that would have been a huge help.
Yeah, it was, especially with footwork and also with catching the ball, it helps out too. You might not realize it, but it gets your hands quick and how to use your hands, different things like that.
When you got in the game against Miami in the second half, you made a great shot from the left corner. And I heard some guys talking after the game. That's not easy to do what you did, to sit like that, to come out and hit a shot like that, about 16 feet in the deep corner. Talk about how your confidence has grown on the offensive side.
Well, it's a manager here at UNC Charlotte named Bryce Crawford, and he does a tremendous job with helping me with my offensive game. Actually, we worked out today, so he's really helping my offensive game develop, and he's a big part of a big reason for the success of my development. So I give a lot of credit to him. he works here with, other guys like Terrence and Perrier, Evic. He does a really great job, and he's such a hard worker. So I can get that, a lot of that credit to him.
What do you like to do when you're not playing basketball? You got classes are done now, so you're certainly playing a lot of basketball practicing and got 2 games this week. But when you guys kind of get away from the court, what do you like to do?
I like to play, 2K13, just warm outside, maybe go fishing at Coach Major's house, that's really eat.
They're always giving you a hard time on road trips when we go to the training table. You don't mind it, though, right?
No, I don't mind it.
Takes a lot to keep a big man going, don't it?
It does.
You just look skinny. It's an optical illusion.
Tell us about this week preparing for Radford and then Florida State, your first chance to play at Time Warner Cable Arena.
Well, Radford is a young team, and we went to their place last year, and I think we won by 8. So I think having a great practice tomorrow and being mentally ready for Radford, because we want to get Radford's best shot. Obviously, we're 10-1, so obviously we have to do that. And then Florida State, another big game. It's at an ACC school. Got to come in there with our minds right, and I think it's just going to come down to having good practices this week, with that game. And I think if we do that, we'll be fine.
Mike, thanks so much for taking some time today. Really appreciate it. Great talking to you.
No problem.
And good luck on Wednesday night.
All right, thanks.
Mike Thorne's been our guest, Niner redshirt freshman from Fayetteville, North Carolina, part of the 10-1 Niners so far. Again, they take on Radford on Wednesday night. We're back with more of the Allen Major Show. The coach rejoining us in a moment here at Wild Wing Cafe. This is the Allen Major Show from IMG College. Back here at Wild Wing Cafe, the Allen Major Show. Our phone number 704-332-0173. Niners off to a 10-1 start on the season. We were told by Tom Whitestone a little while ago that since joining the Atlantic 10 Conference, this is the most wins the Niners have had in non-conference play. It ties their most at 10. And, of course, we have still 3 non-conference games left before we go into Atlantic 10 play. So that's a nice little nugget there, Coach. And it was also great visiting with Mike Thorne, who wasn't able to come up here last year as a freshman as he sat out as a redshirt.
Right.
And so it was his first time up here, and really a great guy.
I tell you, from the day we started recruiting him, to see him grow, even AAU ball that summer, he came to our elite camp, which we get a lot of local prospects to come to, and just the ground he's covered, both maturity like this, just conversing up here, and as a player. I mean, he's gotten his body stronger. He's got great trust in his right-hand jump hook now. And, it's just a matter of time before he gets into our mix here. And I got to give a lot of credit to him because he's handling it like a professional in terms of, he's being patient. He's worked every day. His attitude has been A+++, if that's even a phrase. But he's just been tremendous. So, having had been lucky enough to being around my share of big guys in the past, like, you get so excited about a guy like that because it's not what Mike is now, it's what he's going to be that's so exciting.
And he's still got 3 years eligibility left.
Absolutely.
After this year, and a lot of growing to do as far as size and coordination and ability. There's still a whole lot left there, I think.
Absolutely. And even this year is a lot of growing to do. And, it's like I say, that whole thing about every game being a snowflake, it's just a matter of time before he gets his opportunity.
It's a blessing to have a bench as deep as you have, but it also can, cause, for you anyway, issues to where how do you keep everybody happy? And it's not always easy, but you got a good group of kids that it seems like that, they're in this as a team, and the ultimate goal is winning. And what do we got to do to win the next game?
Right.
And if it means I'm going to play 5 minutes tonight, but maybe 10 the next time, and I'm going to contribute one night and someone else is going to contribute the next night. As long as the end result is a win, that's all that matters.
Exactly. And that's the one thing that we have to continually, remind them because they are kids. And there's a tendency at times to forget that, because every guy, I've told a few of them to say, hey, when you go home one night, grab a pen, piece of paper, and, write down everybody that we could possibly put in the game. And I said, I'm not doing this to throw a pity party. I say, I just want you to, just for 5 minutes, put yourself in my shoes. I know you're in college still, but imagine yourself as a head coach. And this is a wonderful problem to have. I mean, there's guys that would, would die for this type of problem. So you're right. I mean, ultimately, the grand goal of winning is something that, because it's impossible, for everyone to get what they want. And that's the nature of college basketball. I mean, this is, you see it all the time. I mean, there were over 350 transfers last year in college basketball. So as you build a culture, we talked about, unselfishness being a big part of what we do. And so, to this point, guys have been tremendous with it.
It was also true, no matter who it is, no matter what player, if you put the work in and you become the best guy on that team, you're not going to keep them off the floor. You're going to play the five that think they can help you win that game. And great case in point, back when I was in school, there was a really young, skinny kid that was going to go to Florida Junior College, but we had an open scholarship at Jackson University. He was the 12th guy, local kid.
Yeah.
He became D. Brown.
Right.
He was a walk-on, became a first-round draft pick of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah. Won
the NBA dunk contest, the old Charlotte Coliseum here in Charlotte. So that's one example.
Exactly.
How about this one from Butler? The kid that was a walk-on. Coach Stevens says, I can't get the kid out of the gym. I go there at 10 o'clock at night. He's still there. He hits the game-winning shot to beat Indiana on Saturday.
Right. No, exactly.
So it happens.
It does. And even with our situation, I mean, let's take Chris Braswell, for example. I mean, he's coming off the bench, but if you look at minutes, he's playing starters minutes. So when you really shake it down, we got a group that starts the game, and their goal is to get us off to a great defensive start. And then when that next group comes in, that gives us, between him and JT and DeMario, gives us good offensive punch. I mean, that's a pretty good, group of three right there to give you an offensive punch when you substitute.
You talk about the chemistry of this team and talk about, everybody maybe not getting all the minutes that they want, but it seems to be a group, at least from the surface standpoint, that really understands how they need to share and how they all need to contribute and do what's best for the team.
Yeah, and again, I think we just stress that, so much, and guys, understand it. And as you continue to move forward, like you said, kids are kids, so there may be a time where they need a nudge and just say, hey, this is what it is. This is what's best for us. And up to this point, I got to give them a lot of credit because a lot of times that becomes more of an issue than it needs to be. But when winning is the ultimate issue, I think that's the ultimate buy-in deal is when you win games. That reinforces the whole point.
Everything comes easier when you win,
and it reinforces the whole point of why it's important. I think that's the other thing too. It gives you that's the best evidence of saying this is why, this is what's best for us.
Coach, let's talk about the next opponent. It's Radford, and that's going to be Wednesday at Halton Arena, 7:30. And the Highlanders come in 5-5. We had a great game at their place last season.
Yeah.
Mike Jones, in his second year now as the head coach, he kind of inherited a tough situation there, and he's turning the corner with that program in the Big South Conference.
Yes.
I know you're impressed with that team right now. What do you like about the Highlanders, and what kind of problems they pose for us?
Offensively, they have pretty good balance. Brown is a guy that can score inside. He's got some size, and he really tries to command the ball in the post. But Price and then their freshman kid Anderson are both very reliable three-point shooters. They can get going. I think they're right around 6-7 made threes a game. So they have some balance there of an inside scorer and some perimeter shooting. Defensively, they're going to press some. They'll get up and get up the floor on made free throws, dead balls, situations like that. Physically, they have good length, and they're an athletic team. They play very hard. So I've known Mike for a long time. So what is going on there right now is not a shock to me at all. And what a story of patience for him. I mean, he was an assistant coach for 25 years before becoming a head coach. So, just a tremendous story, but even a more tremendous guy.
You look at they're scoring 69 a game, giving up 67. You talked about their three-point shooting. They've made 65, and we just played Kennesaw State, who come in, I think, with 32 or 33 made. So they're making a lot more than some of our recent opponents.
Yeah.
But they're also giving up some. So on the defensive side, what do you expect to see against the Highlanders, and what do you think our plan is going to be?
I wouldn't be surprised if they play a little zone. Sometimes with their press, sometimes people zone you or press you to try to shrink you, and meaning that give you less shot clock to play with. So I'm thinking, to me, just from watching them, I think if I'm them, I wouldn't be surprised to see a mix of pressing to try to shrink us a little bit, and then playing a little bit of zone to try to make us, try to keep us out of the paint. But that would be my thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to mix defenses a little bit, try to keep us off balance.
We're here at Wildwood Cafe out by the university until 8 o'clock tonight with Niners head coach Alan Major. We'll take our next break right now, come back with more. Again, the phone number, love to hear from you tonight, 704-332-0173, 704-332-0173. You're listening to the Alan Major Show, presented by IMG College. Back here at Wildwood Cafe out by University, Mallard Creek Church Road. This is the Alan Major Show. Phone number 704-332-0173. That number again, 704-332-0173. Niners right now 10-1, taking on Radford on Wednesday. And then we have Florida State coming to town on Saturday afternoon, going into the holiday break. Now, after that, Coach, you come right back out after New Year's, January 2nd, take on UNC Asheville. And you had a funny line. I'm only bringing this up because you told me something that was really kind of funny. Bruce Hornsby, his son plays for Asheville.
Yeah.
And Ohio State recently played him. And your friend Thad Mata had a pretty good line after the game.
Yeah. The Hornsby kid actually went 6 of 8 from 3. Bruce was at the game, and he had tweeted out to Coach Mata like the day before the game, hey, take it easy on, my son, whatever. So, I think final score was like 90-72. And Bruce was at the game. He's right behind Asheville's bench. And this kid goes nuts in front of, whatever, 18,000 people and scores 28 points against Ohio State. So after the game, one of the media people said to Coach Mata, hey, what you think of that's quite a shooting performance, right? He goes, well, that's just the way it is. So he kind of quoted Bruce's old song. But, he can really shoot the ball. I haven't watched a ton on them yet, but an Eddie Biedenbach team is always going to find a way to just be pesky.
Yeah.
That game was, it was, somewhat close for a little bit. And then, Ohio State ended up pulling away. The kid, Deshaun Thomas, had a big game. Sophomore kid named Sam Thompson had a big game, 18 points, career high. So, it'll be good to kind of get back at it after break. We'll give the kids the 23rd, which is basically from the game ending Saturday. They'll be off until that following Friday, which will be a great break for them because the break that you normally get over Thanksgiving, we were 3,000 miles away in Alaska, so we kind of planned the schedule to where they would have a pretty good Christmas break and be able to get out of here and just get a little separation because Florida State will be 7 games in 22 days. So, and then, when you really go back to the Bahamas, these guys have played quite a bit of ball. So, Christmas break will be much needed.
We don't like to jump ahead too far, but since we don't have another show before the game on Saturday, love to have a great crowd on Wednesday. Students are out, but we've had a great history of the kids staying in town or the local ones coming back out for the games over the holiday break. So it'd be really nice to have a lot of green in the stands on Wednesday night, but also on Saturday at Time Warner Cable Arena against Florida State. That's going to be an exciting game, and we've always had some great games we've played in that building, and you've had the success of beating Tennessee when they're a top 10 team there. So for the kids, it's always fun to get to play in an NBA building, and it's even better when there's atmosphere.
Yeah. That's the fun part of being a media guy. You can jump 2-3 games ahead and not have to sweat it. I jump 2 or 3 games ahead and I lose 2 or 3 hours of sleep. So, but no, it was a special environment down there a couple of years ago, as you guys know, and emotional week, emotional game, and so Florida State is very, very good. I mean, they've consistently been one of the better defensive teams in the country. Leonard has got some roots in this area, Gastonia, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
I coached football, he was the last quarterback when it was a high school.
Is that right?
School in Gastonia. He's a Gastonia native.
Yeah.
He's in the Gaston County Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Yeah, got a lot of family.
So it's almost like a homecoming for him.
It is. So, and it'll be a blackout. So, it'll get a chance to get that uptown crowd involved a little bit, and but they're going to be a handful because of Leonard usually recruits length. Rosters may be somewhat similar. They may be a shade bigger than us, but in terms of recruiting length, that's always been big with him. And that's one thing that's kind of affected their defensive numbers.
They had pretty good expectations coming off last year's run, but they've struggled a little bit into this or not really gotten off to the start that they wanted. You start talking about Miami and Florida State.
Yeah.
Miami's really done better than Florida State, and it's not the way that most people had projected.
Well, and class-wise, Miami is where Florida State was last year. Florida State had a senior-heavy lineup, really experienced. I mean, guys that have been together for 3 years. And so now, and you take Miami's lineup, 3 of their 4 seniors are 5-year guys. Reggie Johnson sat out a year. Kenny Kaji transferred from Florida. Duran Scott's a true senior. And then the other senior is Trey McKinney-Jones, who was a leading scorer at UMKC.
Right.
So you got 3 5-year guys in a lineup talking 23 years old. But Florida State had that last year, and they've lost a few of those guys, as a result of graduation of the pros. But Michael Snare's back, and he kind of triggers their whole attack. Okara White's a really skilled kind of a 4-man. So they've got some pieces to their deal, no doubt.
When you have Radford coming in on Wednesday, you gave the guys a day off today, but it was almost like a needed day off. You talk about how many days you've been going at it.
Right.
And as you've been going at it this long, it doesn't take a lot to get the body going again, but a day of preparation with the scout, that's probably enough, right?
Yeah, and it's mental. I think, with 2 games in 3 days, and you know how that Saturday travel day was.
Oh, yeah.
We
felt like we traveled all day long, and we only really went, 600 miles?
Right, right. We to get to practice, I think 7:30 that night, and then by the time we stacked it up, it was like 10:15 when they went to bed. So today was more of a mental day. Some of the kids came in though. Guys came in and either got a lift. Mike Thorne was in getting a workout in today. Terrence Williams came by. I think Ilya came by. So some of the guys came by anyway, even on a day off, just to get the kinks out. But it was more of a mental day, and it gives us as coaches a prep day to kind of get our minds together for Radford, and we'll piece all their stuff together tomorrow. They're not a heavy action team, but what they do, the few things they do very well.
Coach, got a phone call, so before we take our next break, we'll go to the phones. And Dave is standing by. Dave, welcome again to the Allen Major Show. How are you?
Welcome. I'm fine. Just call me Mr. Consistency.
I like it, Dave. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Hey, you guys were talking about schedules a good bit, and I think that you inherited many of the non-conference games from years past, and I wanted, like Radford and so forth, I wanted to ask you if you had, or if you think you'll be able to work, 1, 2, or 3 teams in, perhaps next year, that you would like to play. I don't know how much control you have over the schedule, but just having been around, the time that you have, are there some teams that you'd like to work into that the non-conference schedule?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. It's been about 50-50. We put some of the games together, and some of the games we've had this year are, the kickbacks from last year, especially, being fortunate enough to be at home, going to Lamar last year, them coming back. Central Michigan, we went out there last year, them coming back. Last year we had 7 non-conference road games, which most coaches look at you and they think you should be in the asylum if you do that. So we had some of those games as kickbacks, and then next year we'll kind of be restarting some series, either home and home. New series will be starting up, and a few bye games as well. So going to Puerto Rico, we'll get 3 high major games in that deal, no matter how you slice it, between having Auburn down there, Michigan, Kansas State, VCU, teams like that. And then we'll have we'll be going to Florida State next year. So there's a 4th high major game. And then we got an invitation. I don't know if we'll do it just based on timing, but there's a deal called the Katy Classic, which is kind of an interesting thing that's cropped up where we've been invited. Steve Lavin from St. John's has been invited. Bruce Weber from Kansas State's been invited. Paul Lusk, who was a former Purdue assistant, has also been invited. He's the head coach of Missouri State. But it's all guys that have had ties to Purdue that are now head coaches in some form or fashion.
Where would it be?
It would be held in West Lafayette, Indiana, just a doubleheader of sorts. Actually 3 games, but not a tournament, but just a single game setting. So that may be hard to pass that one up just because I'm not sitting here without Gene Katy. So so we'll shake all that out as the season wears on and into the spring with the schedule. But We're starting to piece that together now because we just found out Conference USA will have 16 conference games, so you have to kind of work around that too.
Okay. Well, good luck Wednesday night and as well as Saturday. I'll see you there at both games.
Thanks, buddy. Go Niners.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Dave. Really appreciate it. We're going to take our last break right now, come back and wrap up the show and get ready for the Radford game on Wednesday. And again, don't forget Florida State on Saturday. For tickets, go to charlotte49ers.com or call 704-687-4949. You're listening to The Alan Major Show from IMG College. Welcome back to The Alan Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe alongside the coach, Lanny Ford. I'm Matt Swarat. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Very short segment. Again, a reminder, no show next week because of Christmas Eve and the following week, New Year's Eve. So since this will be the last time in this setting, we can wish everybody a very happy holiday and a safe and happy New Year. We appreciate all the support we get throughout the year with the 49ers, and it's been a great start here in 2012. And, Coach, let's hope 2013 is even better.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody that's been out to Halton so far. It's been tremendous in that building, and we're going to do our part to try to keep this thing going a game at a time, and most importantly, just keep growing, and keep getting better because we've still got a ceiling of improvement. And, you want to hit your head on that ceiling best you can. And
you haven't got into the conference play yet, so that's another situation is to look forward to, is
Absolutely.
to try to build your experience into it.
Absolutely. No question.
Lanny, we'll let you finish it up.
Wow, give it all to me. Alan Major Show is brought to you every week right here from Wild Wing Cafe University. We're here from 7 to 8 every Monday night, except the next 2 Monday nights. We'll take those off, and then we'll get back and be more 49er basketball. Come out Wednesday night as well as Saturday night or Saturday afternoon up at Time Warner Cable Arena. For Matt Sweariad, Coach Alan Major, this is Lanny Ford. Have a good evening and good night.